Hey folks, this is Kelani. Welcome back to the Battle of Dazar'alor raid guide for normal and heroic. This time we'll be taking down the Jadefire Masters. Once again, this boss will have different names for the Alliance and the Horde, but they will use all of the same abilities, so don't think too hard about it. We'll refer to the bosses as the Monk and the Mage. For the majority of this fight, you should stack the bosses on top of each other so you can cleave them down. Let's talk about the Monk's abilities first. Something you need to keep track of is Harmonious Spirits. If the Mage ever has lower health than the Monk will become more powerful. This scales depending on the difference of health as well, so just make sure the Monk's health stays lower than the Mage's. The Monk will also periodically zip away from your group and start channeling Whirling Jade Storm, which deals damage to your entire raid, and the only way to stop it is for someone to engage her in melee. So have someone give her a poke as quickly as possible to reduce the damage you take. She will also use Multi-Sided Strike on her current tank. That will throw you up in the air to play a little mini-game. There's a cool pattern around you and you'll start getting attacked by images that will charge towards you. You need to face each image as it charges towards you to get out of the minigame so you can get back to your group. On normal you have 3 images to contend with, but on heroic you'll get 4. If you fail to face the images as it charges towards you, you'll take a huge amount of damage, so you've got to be fast on those. Coming out of the minigame you'll also take 100% increased physical damage for 40 seconds, so you need to tank swap after each multi-sided strike. You might be laughing at the tanks right now, but on heroic mode, as you near the end of the fight and the Monk transforms into her dragon form, nearly everyone in the raid will have to do a multi-sided strike minigame, so you're all going to have to know how to handle it sooner or later. On heroic mode, the Monk will also summon Zuanads, which chase down random players. They can pounce around the room, which deals damage in 5 yards of where they land, so spread out a little bit while the ads are out. You'll want to nuke them down as quickly as possible because they can do a lot of damage if they reach the target. You can stun and slow them, so make good use of your crowd control abilities. That's all for the Monk's abilities for now. Let's have a look at what the Mage has up his sleeves. The Mage will continually cast Fireball at the tank with aggro. This will deal a bit of fire damage, but also apply stacks of Rising Flames, which deals damage over time. When Rising Flames expires, it will trigger Burnout. This deals a large amount of raid-wide damage, which increases depending on how many stacks of Rising Flames your tank had, so you can't let it stack too high, or you'll blow up the entire raid. Tank swapping for the Monk's multi-sided strike should give you enough leeway to not wipe your raid though. The Mage will also periodically apply a magic debuff to several raid members called Searing Embers. This deals damage over 10 seconds, and if it expires it will explode, dealing a large amount of raid-wide damage. Just make sure your healers are dispelling these before they expire, and if you have some priests you can stack up for a handy-dandy mass dispel. And then, like any good mage boss, they will also try to cast Pyroblast. The boss will teleport away and start winding up a huge cast while applying a shield to themselves. Every DPS needs to swap to the mage, nuke down that shield and interrupt the Pyroblast before it one-shots somebody. Whenever the mage teleports, you should drag the Monk on top of him and restack your entire raid, just so you can keep cleaving. On heroic mode, the mage will also cast Magma Trap. This will leave fiery AoEs on the ground which persist until someone walks into them, but if you walk into them, everyone in the AoE will take damage and get flown into the air, high enough to die from the fall damage, so you need to make use of immunities, fall damage avoiding abilities like Blink, and slow falls if you're getting desperate to ensure people don't die when triggering these. You will have to clear some of these eventually, otherwise you're going to run out of room, so it's better to clear them on your terms rather than having to panic clear them later. The two bosses also share a power bar which will fill up as the fight progresses. When they reach 30, 60 and 100, they'll use a special team attack. At 30 power they'll use Fire from Mist. Various fire bombs will spawn around the area, which will be surrounded by Jade Mist. The fire bombs will constantly AoE the raid, and the mist will break all line of sight in and out of the mist, so you have to run into the mist to DPS down the fire bombs before your raid dies. Standing in the mist also deals damage over time, and the bomb has a laser that's constantly moving around it. That's gonna one-shot you, so dodge the laser, kill the bombs and make sure no one dies. These bombs always spawn in the same location from what I'm aware of, so you should be able to stack on one before it spawns, kill it ASAP and move around as a large group to the next bomb and keep going until you've cleared them. At 60 power, the bosses will use Flash of Hostility. Everyone will get teleported to one side of the encounter area while the bosses will retreat to the other side and put up a wall. The Mage will constantly pummel the area with Phoenix Fire, so you need to dodge those, but the Monk will also create a maze of rings. You can't go through the rings, but you can go over them, and you can use things like Warlock Gateways. So you have to work your way through the rings to get to the wall, break it down and interrupt the bosses. On heroic mode, only one section of the wall will be attackable unless a player manages to carry across an orb of force, which will allow you to attack another section of the wall, but this didn't really seem necessary. At 100 power, the bosses will team attack with the Serpent and the Phoenix, where the Monk will transform into a Jade Serpent and the Mage transforms into a Phoenix. Unsurprisingly, the Jade Serpent will breathe fire in a cone in front of it, so that needs to be faced away from the raid. The Phoenix will deal constant AoE damage for the rest of the fight and apply Rising Flames with its attacks, so you will have to keep tank switching to ensure those stacks don't get too high, and once again you don't blow up your raid. On Heroic mode, when the Monk transforms into a Dragon, they will trigger a multi-sided strike on almost the entire raid, so be sure you're quick with that, otherwise half your raid could die very quickly. The Jade Serpent's breath also leaves a patch of fire on the ground on Heroic, so you have to kite it around the room to make sure you have enough space, while also trying to keep the cleave damage rolling. The easiest way we found to do this was to actually just kill the Monk first. We focused her down because there's no real penalty for doing so, and if you can kill the Monk before they get to 100 energy, or shortly afterwards, you can remove practically every problem from that last phase. You still want to cleave the Mage, and you need to swap to him for every Pyro Blast, but killing the Monk first and not splitting your damage evenly seems to make this a lot easier. This boss is all timed too, so I'd recommend you lust at the start. And that's all you should need to take down the Jadefire Masters on normal and heroic. Stay tuned for more boss guides to help you conquer the Battle of Dazar'alor. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.